We here at 10 Minutes with Nick enjoy the internet as much as anyone. And then sometimes we think, let us not go to the internet. It is a silly place. Hi, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. And there's a new trend, newish to me anyway. I'm behind most trends, so it's new to me at this point, that has popped up in dating circles. As a general housekeeping note, ladies who listen to 10 Minutes with Nick, you're going to find that a lot of my opinions are hetero male centric. That would be because I am both hetero and male. I have really no other perspective to offer. I can do my best to counter some hetero male perspectives, but I cannot offer the hetero, non hetero female perspective. So, as a housekeeping matter, I tend to offer things from the hetero male perspective, which means that the internet is just rife with content for me to go through. And one piece of content that continually comes up, the trend, if you will, is this trend of the trad wife. What is a trad wife, you might say? Well, it is a traditional wife. Now, this means different things to different people, as most of these things do. The extreme of it is a woman in the modern age who essentially rejects all modernity, dresses in what amounts to pilgrim garb, and works the farm and, I don't know, plucks eggs from chickens or something. That was a phrase I heard last night, and I thought it was hysterical. The image of plucking the egg directly from the chicken. Gross, but hysterical. Those two often go together. Interestingly enough, it's a little bit like how the trad wife thing goes, because it is essentially an extreme version of what is apparently the new male fantasy, which is not just submission of a woman, but domination. Now, let's be clear here. When I say submission, and again, I've been very open on this podcast. We're Christian here. We're big on the Bible. We're big on the Reformed tradition of the Bible. I've been very open about that. No holds barred. You have questions about what I believe in the Bible, or you want to lambaste something in the Bible and you want to ask questions about it, you can absolutely feel free. But when the Bible talks about submission, it talks about two people who are in partnership, but that someone has to make a decision, right? God wants us in union with him, but also in submission to him. And that's the model that both Jesus and Paul afterwards apply to, like a biblical marriage or a biblical, let's just say, relationship. And that creates, or is meant to create, a healthy dynamic where both partners are equal and someone still decides where you're going to go out to dinner. Dominion is what humanity has over the earth. Dominion is master. We're both in union with God, in partnership with God, and God also has dominion over us. He runs the show. He could blast us into smithereens if he so chose. He gave us dominion over the earth, but he didn't give us dominion over each other. Right? He didn't give that's not what he gave us. The trad wife trend is men who fantasize about dominion over women. And the key to the trad wife trend, the key to that sort of fantasy, if you will, is that the woman happily is dominated. She's happily dominated in that scenario. It's weird. It's very weird. It makes red pill internet look very tame by comparison. And red pill internet by itself is very, very weird. Red pill internet is the place to go where when you'll hear a Christian on one hand say anyone can be redeemed, and then they'll mock somebody who has come to faith despite their history. They'll mock somebody and say, no, you could not possibly have been redeemed. Anybody can be redeemed. You could not have possibly been redeemed. It's weird. But Tradwife makes the whole thing look ridiculous. It's one thing to say, you know, me and my girlfriend, me and my wife, we want kids, we want a lot of kids, we want to own a lot of land, yada yada. That's all well and good. You can do that without being this weird Tradwife disturbing fantasy. It's disturbing because it upends and creates this dangerous dynamic. And frankly, do you just want, if you want someone to just work around the house, what? Why? What? Just, I don't know. If you can't take care of the 37 acres you bought, maybe sell the 37 acres or, get some help. But you don't date somebody for labor. You date somebody because you care about them and you wish to create a family unit of some type, whether that includes kids or it includes Sir Snuffles, your puppy. That's what's weird about this Tradwife thing. It's one thing because it's like anything else. It's like any other trend. It starts sort of pretty benign, like, oh, we just believe in traditional values. Oh, cool, okay. And even the traditional values starts pretty benign. Hey, we're just kind of Christian, we do our own thing, and we're not big fans of what they're selling at the grocery store, so we like to grow as much of our own food as we can. I was raised, I know how to raise chickens and sheep and all that stuff, so I can do most of my own. I can raise a lot of my own food. Fantastic, great, good on you. There are people who choose to live in a, what's the word? Maronites Lebanese church. That's not what I'm thinking of. The Pennsylvania people, the people in Pennsylvania who they're good woodworkers, even though they have no power tools. Them, the Amish. That's the word I'm thinking of. People choose to live in kind of enclaves like that. Tradwife is like this weird, I've taken a woman from the modern world and somehow convinced her that I have it's like a power move. It's like this weird power play. And that's where dating kind of is starting to fall apart in the modern world, I think, is that everything turns into a power play from at least the male perspective, at least on the internet. Everything turns into a power play because men feel like they have no power, even though apparently they have all the power. It's very confusing. It's very hard to keep track of. It's hard to keep track of who's up and who's down. One minute you think the patriarchy's on top. The next minute you read a tweet and you're like, oh, is the matriarchy on top? You can't really trust what's on. You can't really trust what's on Twitter. I have no idea what's on that new Blue Sky app. I'm sure something's on there, but I don't know what. So as always, I'm going to give a piece of advice to the men. Women, this piece of advice really isn't for you, but I suppose there's an inverse to it if you'd like to listen. Men, when you date someone, date a partner, not a laborer. What I mean by that is date somebody who you want to grow in partnership with, not somebody you want to hire. It's called a prostitute, and that's illegal. It's not illegal to hire labor for a farm. It is illegal to hire a prostitute. Don't get the two mixed up. Just because the prostitute works in the field doesn't mean she's not a prostitute. Just when you see trends like this, pump the brakes a little bit. And if you've never actually read the Bible and insist that you live up to biblical traditions, I would suggest taking a gander at the Bible first. Just cursory breeze through the Bible. Start there, and then maybe figure out what that actually means before you get down to it. Because if you start spouting off biblical tradition and saying this is definitely biblical tradition, and you're wrong, it's not great at the end. It's not great. That gets to a whole verse about Jesus saying, there will be many who spoke in my name, and when they reach me, I will say, I never knew you. And that's going to suck. We want good and faithful servant, people, not I never knew you. I never knew you gets you cast into the fires of hell where there will be a wailing and gnashing of teeth. Anyways, I'm out of time. A couple housekeeping matters. The producer has given me off for the next few days, which is nice. I will be back on Monday with more rambles and nonsense and silly content. We'll get a little football in. If we've had all our copyright issues resolved, we'll get back to our iconic 10-second song challenges. A lot of good submissions have been rolling in. It's been great. Otherwise, have a great weekend. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.